What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue. This week's episode is the last episode of the Hidden Arsenal series, because we have entered Hidden Arsenal 7, Knight of Stars, and the domination of Dragon Rulers. You guys are wondering, what exactly do I mean by that? Well, hang on one second. I actually had something written down in my notebook from a while back. So as we leave spellbook format and go into Dragon Ruler format, there were so many things that had taken place during this time. We've now entered an age a time in Yu-Gi-Oh's history where spellbooks were still viable. Dark World decks had become 10 times more powerful than we had ever thought, with the addition of the Dark World structure deck, which I believe came out in 2012. I'm actually gonna look back and see. Because I believe it did come out right around that time. As far as I remember it, anyway. Hang on, guys. Let's see. If I remember correctly, yeah, I believe it was right around that time in 2013, like somewhere between 2010 to 2013 was right around the time that the Dark World structure deck had came out, and over time we ended up getting new cards that would support the archetype. Spellbooks was still pretty viable. Inzectors became still pretty viable, even though Inzector format was in 2012. It was still pretty viable in 2013, but I believe Dragonfly ended up getting banned once we entered Dragon Rulers. It became a much more different feel, if you will, as far as competitive play goes. But there was actually a deck that there were so many different variants of Dragon Ruler decks that became extremely viable, and one of them would feature 3 copies of literally all 4 Dragon Rulers, but only 2 copies of the baby rulers as well, which was pretty crazy. And truth be told, Hidden Arsenal 7 actually kind of did the game a little bit of justice, because if you were to look at the set itself, there were a few cards from here that not only changed Dragon Rulers, but it also changed several other decks over the years, and one of them were actually Evil Swarms and Constellars, because Constellars were still pretty I believe Constellars were still pretty viable back then, even though it was an archetype from, I believe, what was it, Duelist Alliance, if I remember correctly. but yeah, and not only that, right around this time was when Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy had started to come out. Not only that, but so did Legendary Collection 4 Joey's World. And it's interesting because if you look at a set like Joey's World, they added a card that was so broken. It would be not only was it an OCG import, but it was a card that would give the card holder a huge amount of card advantage, but only if they called it right. If you guys have never seen the card before, it's a normal trap card that reads declare 2 numbers from 1 to 6. Your opponent rolls a 6-sided die, and if the result is one of the numbers you declare, you draw that many cards. Otherwise, send the number of cards from the top of your deck to the grave equal to the result. So if you called, let's say, 5 and 6, and your opponent rolled a 2, you would have to mill 2 from the top of your deck to your graveyard. But if you did call a 5 or a 6, you get to draw that many cards, which will give you card advantage for Dragon Rules, because Dragon Rules actually played this card right up until the card got banned. Right up until it got banned, I believe right around the winter of 2014, if I remember correctly. Right around the winter of 2013. I think right around December 2013, January 2014 was when the card got banned. Not only that, but during that ban list, they also not only did they limit the baby rules to 1, they also I believe they also semi limited the big boys, the Dragon Rulers, to 2, which it was still good, but it wasn't as competitive as it was when it was at full power. And so by that logic, Dragon Rulers were pretty much just dead. But there were still other decks during this format that were still good. 6 Samurai, Gravekeeper, Dark World, Inzectors, just to name a few. And then by the time we got into 2014, Fire Fist became a thing. So when you look at Hidden Arsenal 7, there were only a few cards. There were only maybe a few cards that were good. But the rest of the set was just not that good. This set will never be as good as Hidden Arsenal 6 or 4 or 3. Because out of all 7, just those 3 alone were good. Because if you look at Hidden Arsenal 3, you had cards like Ally of Justice, Decisive Armor. You look at Hidden Arsenal 6, I believe that was the one that I talked about in last week's episode, where it had I believe Naturia Exterio, which was a broken card. So to go in numerical order of Hidden Arsenal 7 Knight of Stars, we have Gem Knight, Sardonyx, I believe that's how it's pronounced, Laval Flogus, I don't know how to pronounce that one, I probably butchered it. Gishki Advance, Gusto Griffin, Constellar Sheraton, Constellar Aldebaran, Constellar Algieti, Constellar Pollux, Constellar Zubenishmali. I probably just butchered that. Constellar Virgo, Evil Storm Heliotrope, which was basically a combo starter of all cards. This card was actually a combo starter, which is actually kind of funny. Evil Swarm Zoc, Evil Swarm Ketos, Evil Swarm O'Lantern, Evil Swarm Mandragora, Evil Swarm Hrasvelg, Ivagishki Levianima, Gemini Zirconia, Lavalval Chain, which was one of the big cards printed in this set, as was Daigusto Emerald. There were a few cards in here that I will be talking about in this episode, including those two in particular. And Constellar Hyades, Constellar Pleiades, Evil Swarm Nightmare, Evil Swarm Bahamut, Molten Conduction Field, Gishki Photo Mirror, Constellar Star Chart, Fragment Fusion, Dust Storm of Gusto, Infestation Infection, DD Esper Star Sparrow, Beast Warrior Puma, Phoenix Beast Gyruda, Iron Hammer the Giant, DD Jet Iron, Iron, Tin Goldfish, Gearspring Spirit, Gemini Lazuli, Gishki Natalia, Constellar Siat, Constellar Rasselhog, I believe that's how it's pronounced, Constellar Leonis, Constellar Acubens, Constellar Caos, Constellar Alresha, Constellar Antares, Evil Swarm Caster, Evil Swarm Obliviwisp, Evil Swarm Azathoth, Evil Swarm Thunderbird, Evil Swarm Salamandra, Evil Swarm Golem, Evil Swarm Capelia, Sophia, Goddess of Rebirth, Gishki Cyclone, Ivgishki Zelgigas, Gemini Seraphinite, Gemini Master Diamond, Tin Archduke, Constellar Prescape, Constellar Ptolemy M7, Evil Storm Thanatos, Evil Storm Ophion, Evil Storm Ouroboros, Iron Call, Constellar Star Cradle, Infestation Pandemic, Constellar Meteor, and Infestation Terminus. So if you look at this set, what cards were good? The answer? None. The answer was only a few of the main deck cards. Only a few, such as obviously the Evil Swarms and some of the Gusto cards. But people were mainly after the extra deck cards, and one of them was Lavalval Chain. This card ended up getting banned right around the time of Fire Fist format, like right around that time. And crazy enough, this card was just absolutely busted. The effect reads, once per turn, you can detach one material from this card to activate one of these effects. Send one card from your deck to your grave, choose a monster from your deck, and place it on top of your deck. This was used so frequently, not just with Dragon Rulers, but also with Dark World decks, Six Samurai decks, and so many others. Even, I believe, also Inzectors also played this card, because, again, it's a Fool's Burial Recycler, meaning you get to either Fool's Burial a card from your deck to your graveyard, or you can take a monster from your deck, place it on top of the deck, so you can next turn you can go full combo, or if you have any form of draw power, you can use that draw power, get that card out, and just go full combo from there. Funny enough, I believe this card got banned right around, I want to say, I want to say right in the middle of I want to say this card got banned right in the middle of Fire Fist format, because of that fact right there, because of how good the card was, which was absolutely nuts. Daigusto Emerald was pretty good. Even now, it's still pretty good, but it's mainly used in Tribegate Zoo, because of the fact that you can do quite a bit with this card. The effect reads: once per turn, you can detach a material from this card, activate one of these effects. Target 3 monsters in your grave, shuffle all 3 into the deck, and then draw 1 card. Target 1 non-effect monster in your grave, special summon that target. So it's like a Monster Reborn recycle 3+1, so to speak. Well, actually 1 - 1 because you're detaching a material for it. But funny enough, it ended up getting a couple of erratas, so it made a little more sense because by that logic, they ended up removing a few words in the text, so it became more understandable for, especially for newer players. It would make a lot more sense. So the original errata said, once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card to activate one of these effects. Target 3 monsters in your grave, shuffle all targets into the deck, then draw 1 card. Target 1 non-effect monster in your grave, special summon that target. The first errata said once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, then activate one of these effects. Target 3 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle all 3 into the deck, then draw 1 card. Target 1 non-effect monster in your grave, special summon that target. The current errata was the one that I had just mentioned, where it says, once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, then activate one of these effects. Shuffle all 3, target 3 monsters in your GY, meaning your graveyard, of course. Shuffle all 3 into the deck, then draw 1 card. Target 1 non-effect monster in your GY, special summon that target. So they made it so they gave it an errata to give it more, so it would become more understandable, if you will. But it's funny because Daigusto Emerald was at 3 right before Zodiac format came. Once we got into Zodiac format, this card was just too broken. Being able to not only recycle your Zodiac monsters, excuse me, but you're able to just reborn pretty much any non-effect monster you could ever think of, and put it back on the field, so you can use it to resummon. So so you can use it to summon pretty much any rank 4 Xyz monster that you want. That's why this card got banned. That's why this card got banned right before we got into Links, because of that reason. Because if this card was legal right around the time that Code of the Duelist came out, it would have been way too broken, and it would have gotten banned. And it would have gotten banned either way. So I'm glad that Konami actually banned this card during the time where we were about to enter Links. But it's interesting too, because there were several other cards as well that were used during this time, and Constellar Pleiades was another one that was really, really good, because it did get a errata. In fact, it got 2 erratas, but the original effect said once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card to target a card in the field and return that target to the hand. Basically, it was basically a compulsory evacuation device for the entire for whatever deck you were playing, because Compulse, hardly anybody played Compulse anymore, even though it was still good. Even though the card was still good, hardly anybody played it, unless if you were playing Go format. Then yeah. But another card that was also really good was Evil Storm Nightmare, which was kind of an interesting card, but it was still good. The effect read when your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, except during the damage step, you can detach 1 material from this card, change that spell summon monsters or monsters to face down defense. It was like it was like a basically it was like a Omni Book of Moon, so to speak, which was pretty crazy. Evil Swarm Bahamut was another really good generic Xyz monster because, funny enough, this was basically Snatch Steal. This was basically Snatch Steal, but your opponent does not gain any life points, so it's kind of crazy. This one in particular required 2 level 4 L Swarm monsters, and what the hell is in my eye? Anyway, the effect read: you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card to target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Discard 1 card. Discard 1 L Swarm monster if you do take control of that opponent's monster. Again, it was basically Snatch Steal, and everybody was running it in a Evil Swarm package in some way, shape, or form. Now, Molten Conduction Field was kind of an interesting one because Molten Conduction Field was basically a double Foolish Burial. You send two level monsters from your deck to your graveyard. Basically, it was a double Foolish Burial for the deck, which was pretty crazy. It was pretty it was pretty crazy. Now, another card that was really really good. There were actually a few others. I'm actually gonna go scroll down to here. To Constellar Ptolemy M7. This was quite the interesting card because the effect reads you can also exceed summon this card by using a Constellar Exceeds monster you control as material other than Constellar Ptolemy M7. Transfer its materials to this card. If summoned this way, the following effect cannot be activated this turn. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, target a monster on the field or in either graveyard, return that target to the hand. So it was basically Pleiades on steroids because with this you could either compulse the monster or you can reincarnation the monster to the hand, which was pretty nuts. It was pretty nuts, to say the very least. Evil Swarm Thanatos was kind of an interesting card, because if you look at a card like Thanatos, this was basically a protection. So the effect reads once per turn as a quick effect, you can detach 1 material from this card. This face-up card is not affected by other monster effects this turn. So it was basically just protecting itself, basically, which was not the best, but it was still a 2350 body on board. So you couldn't go wrong with that. But still, it was kind of weird. It was kind of a weird one. Now, Ophion was a good one. Ophion was a really good one because the effect reads: while this card has Exceeds material, level 5 or higher monsters cannot be special summoned. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Exceeds material from this card, add 1 infestation spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So it was basically Spell and Trap Rhoda. This was Spell and Trap Rhoda, which was really good, and a 2550 body on board. Yeah, that was a pretty good one. That was a pretty good effect. But if you look at also Evil Swarm Ouroboros, this one was probably one of the most broken generic Xyz monsters in the format because this card required 3 level 4 monsters, so you would need to find a way to summon 3 monsters to make this card, which was absolutely insane. And the effect read: once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card and activate one of these effects. Each effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. Target 1 card your opponent controls, return that target to the hand. Send 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. target one card in your opponent's grave and banish that target. So take a wild guess of what cards of what 3 cards this card feels like. Compulsory evacuation device. Confiscation. Call by the grave. Yeah. Yeah. And the craziest part is that this card was only printed twice. Hidden Arsenal 7 and Premium Gold, Infinite Gold. That set of which I did an opening on a long time ago. I completely forgot I did that. And funny enough, it's still a pretty broken card. It's still broken to this day. And yet nobody even uses it, which is actually pretty funny. But overall, those were the only cards that were used during this time. There were also cards like Seraphonite and Master Diamond. I think Master Diamond was one of the more better Gem Knights, if I remember correctly, because the effect read, must first be fusion summon. This card gains 100 attack for each Gem Knight monster in your grave. Once per turn, you can banish a level 7 or lower Gem Knight fusion from your grave. Until the end phase, this card's name becomes that monster's, and replace this effect with that monster's original effect. Yeah, so this was one of the more better Gem Knight fusions, because this card was just absolutely nuts. A 2900 body on board, gaining more attack for each Gem Knight monster in your grave. Yeah, that was a pretty broken card. Pretty broken, to say the very least. Seraphonite was kind of an interesting one. I completely forgot what this one does, because I don't remember much about the anime. But, let's see. Must first be fusion summoned with the above fusion materials. During your main phase, you can normal summon or set one monster in addition to your normal summon. Okay, so this was basically a double summon. So this card was basically a double summon for the whole deck. So it was a pretty interesting card. But overall, the big question remains, was this set good? Yes, this card was absolutely busted because of the fact that you had cards like... Because you had cards like Levolvo Chain, like also Emerald, Evil Swarm Bahamut, which was absolutely nuts, Molten Conduction Field, and so many others. So many cards were so... A lot of these cards were so good that once we got into Dragon Ruler format, the format was just busted. In fact, you could say that this format was a lot more busted than, in my opinion, I would say this format, Dragon Rulers, was a lot more busted than Edison format, which I did talk about in one of my earlier episodes from like a few weeks ago, if you guys have not checked that out. But yeah, this was a really good set. I don't know if I'll ever get a box of this set. I'm sure that if I do, I'll have to look on. Let me look on Amazon really quickly and see how much it would be for a booster box, because I don't know exactly. Here we are, Hidden Arsenal 7. Yeah, I had a feeling it would be that much. It's like... Literally, it's like $200. That's pretty expensive. But also too, there was another one that I wanted to talk about as well, Constellar Hyades. That was another one that I forgot to mention. This one was actually kind of interesting because the effect reads, once per turn you can detach one excuse material from this card. Change all monsters your opponent controls to face down defense. I think I might have talked about this, but basically this was an Omni Book of Moon. This was an Omni Book of Moon for the deck. It was kind of an interesting one, but a rank 3, it was kind of a weird one. It was kind of a weird card, but overall, this set was really good. Dragon Rule, once this set came out, Dragon Rules became... Once this set came out, and once we got Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, this format, Dragon Rule format, was busted. Absolutely busted. Having cards like Emerald and whatnot was just absolutely nuts. So Yeah, one could only imagine how crazy this format was back then. One can only imagine. Honestly, I don't remember much about it, but I do remember a little bit about it because I had heard, because I would always read about it online, and through obviously YouTube, where a lot of creators out there would talk about it. So yeah, it was kind of a weird one, but this brings me to the question of the day. What deck were you guys playing during Dragon Ruler format, and did you quit the game during Dragon Ruler format? I'm actually curious about that. Let me know in the comments below. And that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue, which get posted every Friday. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. And if you guys have any fan mail you want to send me or want me to open up on the channel, my address will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.